What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter. Welcome to challenge number 6. It's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. That's right. We've got Sam Peterson in the chat moderating. Chris Olson's in the house. The Adongo's here as well. Everyone's saying hello. Let me know what you had to drink this morning. Was it coffee? Was it tea? Was it juice? Was it espresso? John's saying hello from the Netherlands. Hello right back to you from the Netherlands. Hey, if you're watching this over on YouTube, jump on over to Behance. That's where we're engaging in the chat, because the XD Daily Creative Challenge is all about engaging with people, helping people grow their XD skills in just 9 challenges, and we're on challenge number 6 today. All you got to do is go over to behance.net/challenge/XD and then jump over and hit that big blue button so you can participate in the challenge. When you scroll down, you see all of our challenges that unlock every day. Here we are, challenge number 6, the freelance tracker. That's right. I like to do a little bit of freelance work myself, so I'm going to be building a freelance tracker today. Get your starting file by hitting that get started little button right there. And all right, pretty good. Once you've done that, you want to make sure that you're also logged in, signed in to the Adobe XD Discord server with thousands upon thousands of creatives there, mentors, myself, other people giving you feedback on your work. And make sure you post your work here in the challenge channel. That way we can look at some of your work today at the end of the stream and all the following days. Hey, talking about work, let's jump over to our starting file today. And that is challenge number 6, design an application where freelancers can track revenue, expenses, clients, all at a go. I would love to have this. I don't know if I have this, and so I would like it very much so. Scroll down, you got a little bit of inspiration there. Just really simple habit, like kind of looks like a habit tracker, but really more than that, it's going to be tracking profit, sales, loss, all that kind of stuff, all right? And I got a couple of starting artboards here, standard artboards. They are 428 by 926. That's like an iPhone 11 or 12, something like that. It's okay. Create whatever artboard size you want. But I have a couple of starting icons down there as well. This is going to be a really simple one, and what we're really going to be trying to focus on is the usage of components, a few techniques we've already learned so far, creating variables and variants out of those components, and then maybe even using a little bit of some stacks, and we can try to reuse components as much as possible, okay? So with that being said, let's bring some really simple stuff in here. How about some typography? I hit T for text. I'm just going to put who is in the chat right here. How about hello to Chris? He was one of the first people that said hello to me. So I'm going to say hello right back to Chris. I'm going to line it up with my icons that I have down here. You know, if you want some lines, or excuse me, some guides, you can make sure that that you turn on all guides like this. And then once those are on, see how I can now hover over the left-hand edge. I can also hover over the top edge, and I'm able to drag some guides onto the screen. So if I do that, we just drag it right there. It's about 33 pixels. That lines up with what's going on that side. We can drag another one just like that. It's about 32 pixels, so we realize that our navigation's just a little bit off. That's okay, we'll keep it as is for now. But that's a simple way to add some guides into your project. If you want more complex guides, more detailed guides, select the artboard, head over to grid here on the right hand panel, and we can turn on a grid and make it either a layout grid or a square grid. I actually prefer an 8-pixel grid when I'm doing the majority of my mobile UI work, but for this use case, let's say we just turned on a little bit of that layout grid. We got 4 columns, and you can actually change how many columns are inside of your grid, and the gutter size as well, and it's keeping everything kind of locked in, kind of dialed in, right? We're gonna want to have some gutters. How about 8 pixels there? And then we can change the column width, okay? So again, when you change the gutter width, you're also going to be changing the column width, but you're also able to change the margins on the outside as well. So that's something you can do. Let's just do a little bit. Oh yes, we either want it off center or completely center. That is up to you. So let's just spread this out to hit our guides there at about 32. Let's make sure we go back here, and we're down at ooh, I don't know why it's not working for some reason. Let's try type in 32. That works. All right, so we can turn those on really quickly, on and off, by holding command and hitting our apostrophe. Okay, that'll turn on our grids like that. And if you hold down Shift, you can turn on the layout version of those as well. And I believe if you hold down Command Shift, or it's just Command, excuse me, and then the colon, you can turn your rulers on and off. So nice little hotkeys to turn your guides on and off. Learn those hotkeys, they're important. All right, so we're using Montserrat today. Let's bump this up to be something like a bold, and we'll just bump this up and make it just like so. Put it right on our line there. We like that. It's a little bit big. Why don't we bring it down a little bit? If you want to know how to start building a bit of a typographic scale, I'm actually going about it a little bit backwards right now. What you'd actually want to start with is you'd want to start with a base font size. This is basic kind of how to use typography in your UI design. You want to pick your font, you want to pick your weight, your standard weight, probably more like a regular, and then drop it down to a legible size, maybe something like 16. That'd be your standard body copy. Then we can duplicate. I just held down Option and drug up a new version, and we could just come in here and do something, what type of scale you want to use. Maybe it's the golden ratio, maybe it's a minor third, right? These are all fancy names for numbers or math you're going to do. Let's do a simple ×2 right there, and we get 32. And then we want to bump that up from regular, maybe to medium, maybe to semi-bold, and you can see now we've got our first step in our scale. We wanted to go again. We could do the same thing, 32 ×2, okay? And we go up to bold. Now, this might be a bit massive. ×2 might be a little big for your taste. So maybe instead what we should have done was take this back down to 16, and we could go something like, the golden ratio is 1.6 something something something. Let's do something a little bit easier, like 1.4, okay? And then we can come up and go 22.4. Let's remove the decimal. We'll just round things a little bit. We'll go 22 times 1.4, and that's the one we'd want to bump up to bold. Now we're starting to build, see our little bit of typographic scale. It's scaling its way up. Simple, easy, nice, okay? So, hello, Chris. Let's put you here. We'll put our body copy here, and let's just, I tell you what, let's just hold on to these. We like these. I'm going to open up my my assets panel. I'm going to take my character styles and pop those in, and I'm just going to reorder them a little bit. 16, boom, and then 22, and then 30.8. Yeah, all right. So we don't need this one in here. We'll just use these as our headline and our little bit of body copy that we pop right in there. So hello, Chris. Let's do this, like welcome back. We don't need to spell it like that. All right. And maybe you can come up just a little bit more. Let's give a little bit of contrast between the two by just graying our welcome back out, because we really want people to see the big welcome. That's what we want. Now let's create, we did some kind of hand-drawn elements yesterday and had a lot of fun with them. I'm gonna hit Command Y to go back to my layers. We have our little navigation down here. How about a fun active state? So why don't we do something like this? We'll choose our wallet, and why don't we pick a fun color, maybe something like, I don't know, we did a green yesterday, so why don't we pop some colors down here in our layers palette, or our color palette, excuse me. And then with that color selected, I do like that color. I'm going to just save that color really quickly. And then why don't we do P for pen, and I'm just gonna do like a really messy circle, just like a sketched circle, and just drag some of these around just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's let it be messy. And then right click and say apply to the fill, apply to the border. Now we got a little bit of a messy kind of like active state. I don't know. I've never done something like that. I figured it would be a little bit fun. All right, with our active state there, why don't we just drop this into our navigation? Let's lock it because we shouldn't have to play with our nav anymore. Let's build our first big component. Before we do this, we probably should have a little tiny avatar. So I'm hitting R for rectangle. I'm just going to drag a rectangle out. I held down Shift, which kept everything constrained while I did it. And I'm just going to drag in and do some soft edges here. Maybe round. What do we do? Yeah, let's do pretty soft edges here. You can either do it here using the little handles, or you could always come down and do it here in our right hand panel. So 12 seems fine for me. I'm going to open up my plugins. I'm going to bring up UI faces, one of my favorites, to grab an avatar. It's going to bring up a lot of different types of avatars, and we're going to look for somebody. This guy looks a lot of fun, Let's pop him in there. Let's say, Chris, this is you. just for today. It's not really you, but it could be you. All right. Chris, you're a freelancer and you are welcomed by your application today. I love these, this lockup, the way it is, everything's spaced. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna group that together and turn on stack. Now later on, if I want to, I should be able to switch these and create consistent lockups. So I'll call this the welcome in my layers panel. And we're keeping everything kind of like mocked up nicely. I like it. All right, so with that being said, why don't we just drag this a little closer to the top and let's start building our components. I'm gonna hit R for rectangle and just drag a rectangle out. That's what I love about these smart guides is this, when you snap over to it, boom, it goes right to the edge. If you're an artist, maybe you don't wanna snap to guide, but if you're a designer, you might wanna snap to guides because it's very, very helpful, all right? Why don't we take a little inspiration from our photo here, but then we will chill this way out. We want nice, light colors, maybe like that, and yeah, maybe something more like an orange color, okay? Inside of this thing, I tell you what, why don't we duplicate our style that we had going on here, and then we can use some of those layer styles again. Do we want it to be this really big one, or do we want it to be slightly smaller? Maybe slightly smaller, and maybe we actually want to have what you call like a mini label or a small, like a super small text. I wouldn't go down past 14 personally. That's what I like to say. So I'm gonna keep it there at 14. It's still black. It's just we're bringing the opacity of it down, which is actually really, really nice because then we get a little bit of that opaque kind of peek through to the color and makes it feel native to the object that it's on. So we'll actually create a new character style out of that. That's our 14. We'll put it at the very bottom, just like that. You can also switch these back to the grid view, but I like the list view for most things. All right, so why don't we move this up here? We'll put let's put profit, okay, this month's profit, and we'll type a little helper text down here like total profit for the month. All right, and I'm gonna grab this same size text and just pull it out. Let's say something like, oh, we probably need another piece of text down here. And why don't we choose our big guy? Because profit is the most important thing. The number, that's the number we want people to see. Maybe this month you've made, you know, $2,000. Okay? So you made $2,000 this month. Pretty good. If we wanted to, we could drag this into our stack, which is really, really nice. And then again, it was a little bit spaced. Now, when you select the actual layer, the group that has the stack kind of turned on, you can address the spacing just like this. But you can always come in to the actual elements here and you can affect the spacing as well. So if that was 4, let's bump this up to 8. We'll take this whole thing and we will center it in, we'll center it inside of our little box that we've created there. Now it's pretty far over to the side. I don't think we need it to be that far. Let's do something like 30 from the edge there. Okay, so we got $2,000 you've made in profit this month, looking pretty good. How much of is that an increase or a decrease from last month? Let's do something like that. How about that's a 45% increase we want to see. And we're going to use a technique that we have used in a previous, inside of a previous challenge. So hit E for ellipse. Let's do a little chart, okay? Turn off the fill and then set the gap to 1,000. This is the 1,000 gap method, and then we can start pushing our dash around to make our little pie chart. Okay, so we can grab both of these and just center align it. I like that whole thing just be locked up in the middle. And why don't we make this just a little bit thicker, and we'll give it some nice round kind of butt caps like that. And let's pick a fun color. Let's pick the color we're using, except let's make it just a little bit more prominent. Like we are just a more saturated hue of the same color. That looks really, really nice. Okay, I'm digging this. I'm gonna group it together, okay, and kind of center it. So we're 44 pixels away there. With 35 and 34, something like that, close to that. Last thing we need to do for our little component we're making is, if it's an increase, we want to see an arrow going up. If it's a decrease, we want to see one going down. Let's create an arrow icon, a custom arrow icon. P for pen, and drag one out there. Love that. Let's hit pen again, and I'm gonna hold down shift. When you do that, you set a point. Okay, and you hold down shift, you get perfect 45s. Instead of being loose and going wherever you want, let's hold it down and get a perfect 45, and we get our smart guide as well. Okay, so with that being said, I'm just gonna butt these objects up next to each other. And I'm just gonna turn it. Ooh, I was going to turn it into one, but maybe not. But we do need to soften all the angles here. Let's just group it together. And then let's choose that orange color and change the size just to be a little chunkier. I like that. And I'm gonna hold down Shift again while I rotate. And I know that I'm at the right angle because the flat end of my arrow, it's the perfect angle that matches my card. So I'm gonna move the whole thing over just a little bit, give it a little bit of space actually, now that I have my arrow pointing up. Zoom out, and maybe this needs to come down just a little bit of space. It's a little bit big actually too, so why don't we just bring that down. But be careful when you bring things down, because especially if it's an icon that is stroked like this, you need to affect the border. All right, now if we wanted to, we could kind of like using Illustrator, we could expand this path and we wouldn't have that problem, but we're doing things pretty quickly today, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so we have our chart here, and we have our arrow here, and we have our welcome message. This is actually our info here, and we have our shape. Okay, now if you heard me say this yesterday, I'm a big fan of components, but I want to put things into a group and then make it into a component, because that gets real messy, right? So every time I access an instance of the component, I have to go into the component, then into the group. I'd rather just grab all of the elements. Like this should say arrow, not arto. Yikes. I like to grab all of the elements, select all of them, okay, and then press Command or Control K, bink, and turn it into a component just like that. When I come over to my assets panel, there it is. Let's call this we'll call it our row. Let's just call it a row. That's nice. Now, once I do that, I'm gonna go back. You'll see this is my master component. You know it's my master component because it has a little filled in green diamond. That's the master component. If I was to drag out an instance of this, you'll see a empty white diamond. Okay, that's how you know it's an instance. Now, personally, my personal workflow is once I've created a component, I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna delete it. It doesn't actually destroy it or delete it from forever. It just gets it off of the artboard. It's still there, right, in my assets panel, but now I can just play with creating variants off of my instances, all right? For instance, what do you mean variant? Well, I'll show you, I'll tell you. Once we have our profit, why don't we drag another one down here, and we'll call this, expenses. Expenses, okay, beautiful. And maybe expenses could be an orange. We like profit though. Profit feels like it should be more of a green color to represent our money, right? Okay, let's add some of these colors into there. Beautiful. I'm going to select my pie chart now. I'm going to go green like it was, but I'm just going to drag that intensity over a little bit and mute it so it pops. Boom, I'll pop that in there because we want to make our little arrow the same as well. Okay, so maybe our expenses are actually down and our profit is up, and maybe this one can be something like 12%. 12% less than last month. Okay, $150 for our expenses, looking pretty good here. Why don't we really quickly we have this color selected, why don't we pop that in there? Anytime I have a color, I just want to make sure that with those colors selected, I add them to my colors like so. Boom and boom, because I might use these again later. I'm starting to build my color palette there. 24. All right, so now you see how we're just creating variants for these different instances that we're using here. All right, so let's talk about inquiries. Inquiries would be nice. Let's do something on the blue scale for inquiries. Love that. Okay, something like that. Love it. So we're going to save that color. And why don't we come over here, choose that blue again, but slide it over to a more bold version of the blue. Save it. Love it. Awesome. Let's just apply it to the border color there. That's not how you spell inquiries at all. Inquiries. That's not how you spell it either. Boom, that's how you spell it. Okay. And then we could put like how many inquiries you get? You got 9 new inquiries. Okay, and let's say this is up 110% from last month. Okay, and we'll just whoop, flip that thing up. Looking pretty good. Now you can keep doing this over and over and over, but I think that works for us. Now, here's the cool thing is we can take these elements, we can reuse them, or we can move on to another artboard. But the great thing about this is anytime I want another row, I can just drag in a new instance and start editing from here. Now we could have come into our component, and if we ever want to kind of manipulate our master component, we just select the instance that's on the artboard, okay? Right click on it and say edit main component. There's also a hotkey there, Command Shift K. If you'd like to do that, let's hit Command Shift K. Boom, it brings our master component out onto the artboard. This is what I love this about Adobe XD. There's no page somewhere with all of your components sitting on it. They're baked into your document right there, sitting in your asset panel. You want to play with it? You want to mess with it? Grab any instance, right click, edit the main component. Bam, you're working on the main component now, okay? With that being said, let's work a little smarter and not harder. Okay, let's zoom in so we can see it. I like these. I want them to maybe be a little bit bigger though. So I'm just gonna grab the whole thing, stretch it out just a bit, and why don't we adjust the size of our shape? Good, love it. And we'll bring in our arrow a little bit, okay? Just like that. And now it's made each one of them a little bit bigger. Let's pick a padding 20 pixels away from each other, just like that. Beautiful. But see how quickly that was done, right? I just messed with one component and every instance changed. Now you want to see how this gets really crazy. Check this out. We're going to take these elements, we're going to group them together. We're going to call them our rows, and we're going to turn on, you guessed it, our stack, right? Let's get rid of this artboard because we may not have time for it today, but let's move everything over so you can see. Now, right, everything is stacked with a certain amount of spacing in between. It's going to keep that spacing, and if I want to expand or contract my component, I can do that, and it's going to keep perfect spacing. I love this technique because maybe I just want them to go really close down to where the navigation is. Boom, I've picked the perfect size. Now you add this, plus we can even go in one step deeper and turn on a little bit of responsive resize. You can see it's already on, right? But we can grab individual elements and say, where do you want them to go, right? Okay, right now things are fixed width, right? Like maybe let's move our chart over just a little bit, but you'll notice when we select our arrow, it's anchored to the top left. You'll notice when we grab this one, it's anchored just to the left. That means as our component stretches, this is why our arrow is staying anchored to the top right and everything else is staying center aligned like this. It's because of our responsive resizing. You want to create really awesome reusable components, ones that fit or that work well for not only mobile, but then maybe over here you have a tablet version. Let's just do tablet version. What happens when I bring this out? Nothing. Well, we don't want that. We want this thing to stretch, don't we? Okay, so responsive resize, or excuse me, we want to be able to stretch out each one of these and have them work well, our instances, right? When we do that, the reason it's working right now is because our element is pinned to the right, our pie chart and our arrow, and this other one is pinned, all of our text information is pinned to the left. This means, let me just zoom out so you can see it here. This means we can come in and we can say, what if it's more of like a tablet mode here? Easy, we just grab our elements, stretch them out, and they're fully responsive. They look great, they work great, everything's awesome, okay? Now we could do some more complex stuff, but this is working for us as far as building reusable components, right? That don't warp, that don't get all messed up, but instead work perfect for multiple device sizes. So with that being said, we got a quick moment to look at a few pieces of work. Let's check out some of our submissions from yesterday. This one is by C. Fraser 175. I'm gonna jump into it. He did our little toggle switch. Beautiful interactions. Very smooth, very slick. Looks just like the one I made. Not to say mine was super fantastic, but that one was super fantastic. This one is by Annie Ann. Let's pump this up full screen. Love this design. Love the colors. Really fun. Got that nice smooth transition, right? But the colors are great. You know what I love about this? The call to actions are really clear, really understandable. You know exactly where you're supposed to like click and tap, right? What's the priority? Selecting a plan. I actually really love this toggle as well. Mine was a colored toggle switch on a neutral background. Yours is a light hue of a color with a neutralized button toggle. Love that one. Great segmented control kind of design style there. Really, really nice work. This is another one by Zach. Let's take a look at Zach's. He's creating some pricing cards. Love this technique. Great classic technique for pricing cards where one of them is a little bit bigger than the others, giving a little bit of emphasis there. Excellent work. I wish I had time to look at a few more, but we have run out of time for the day. You have all been so amazing, so fantastic. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for our Wednesday edition of the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. Same time, same place. We'll see you then.